All right, deep breath here. The holidays came, the holidays went. Just imagine that, of course. And now your Pinterest analytics might look, well, a little bit confused, right? The traffic's dipping, clicks are slowing down, and everything kind of feels like it's taking a nap. But here's the secret that most people forget. January and February are two of the biggest Pinterest traffic months of the entire year. That's definitely from my observations over my time on Pinterest. I don't think 2026 will be any different. People aren't shopping for gifts at this point, right? It's January. Just imagine it's January 2026. They're searching for solutions. They want routines, systems, organization, recipes, workouts, printables, I don't know, meal plans, budget resets, and new habits. Basically, all of it. Basically, all of it. And let's be honest, we keep the lights on at Pinterest as small business owners. So this is really like important that you hear this. And that is why what you create right now will decide the next 60 days of your interest growth in 2026. So in today's episode, I'm breaking down exactly what to post in January and February, plus real examples for every niche. I actually, spent some time on this. So you can start strong, you can stay consistent and ride the Q1 momentum because let's be honest, there's a ton of Q1 momentum. So welcome back to the Pin and Plan podcast. I'm Lisa. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a Pinterest pioneer inside the Pinterest business community, or the PBC as we like to call it. I'm also the founder of Body, Mind, Mood and the Simple Site Lab. I'm a web designer. Body, Mind, Mood, I'm a CPT. Yep, I've engaged all of my passions. And if you ever want to connect or ask a question, you can always find me inside the Pinterest business community at Body, Mind, Mood. You can find me on Instagram, Body, Mind, Mood Fit, and or the Simple Site Lab. Now, my mission here ultimately, for those, especially for those of you who are joining me for the first time, is to make Pinterest easy, doable, totally straightforward, right? For small business owners without all the overwhelm and all the hoo-ha. Because it doesn't need to be complicated. All right. Now let's talk about what people are actually searching for on Pinterest right now, because honestly, Q1 behavior is very different from the holiday behavior that we've seen, right? So we have to sort of adjust what we do on Pinterest as content creators, business owners, for that behavior change. But before we get into it, I want to talk about what's happening across social media right now, starting with Instagram. Who isn't on Instagram? I'm on Instagram. I've been on Instagram for like ever. Instagram is in its sort of, in my opinion now, these are based on my opinions, in a sort of teach me everything kind of phase. Okay. What I've noticed on reels and posts, keyword rich captions, that's what I've been seeing, and a lot of educational reels that, from my perspective, when I look at the stats on it, are doing really, really well. And they're actually outperforming a lot of the trends. So that's kind of cool. TikTok. Well, this is short and to the point. I'm on TikTok. Do I take TikTok as seriously as I take Pinterest? No, I'll be honest, I don't. I think everyone's got their own platform that they love the most. But I do love being on TikTok. I find it's a great go-to. TikTok is, from my perspective, leaning really hard into reset content. Okay, so resetting, right? Think about planners, routines. I've seen wellness resets, simple habit resets. And of course, TikTok Shop, which is like everywhere, is really showing up in terms of what you can find there. Facebook. Now, I've been on Facebook for a long time. I actually left Facebook and then went back to Facebook years later. Groups are still booming. There's a lot of challenges. So one of the things I saw in a couple of groups that I'm in was decluttering challenges. Why? I don't know. If I'm being really honest, I don't know. But apparently they're quite popular. I've seen a lot of budgeting resets. That's becoming a huge, by the way, a huge thing for people to search and get involved with. Accountability driven type communities. So groups are really just booming. Now, of course, on Pinterest, well, it's entering its peak planning season. And I say this solidly, knowingly, because over the years, January sort of December, as we get closer to the Christmas, and then into January, February, it is really, truly, it's peak planning season. There's no question in my mind about that. Searches surge literally around wellness, organizing, budgeting, planners, simple meals, and productivity. Those seem to be the mainstays every single year. The phrases might change, but the concepts, they don't change. So this is your moment, okay? Now, why is January and February, why is it sort of like the Pinterest gold? Well, Pinterest users show up in January with basically one thing in mind. And I call it sort of like the fix my life, quote unquote, right? They've had a whole year. We're now into January. Imagine we're sitting in 2026 and people just are like, oh my God, I need to fix this. Right. So they want to fix everything in their life, or maybe a couple of things in their lives. They're searching for new routines, fresh starts, helpful tools, right? They're searching for like really cool systems, maybe for the house or maybe for work, looking for some calm. They're looking for clarity and definitely some simplicity. So the top Q1 categories for 2026 for January, most definitely. I say 2026, but if I'm being honest, a lot of these categories that I'm going to share with you right now, there's 7 of them, are pretty standard every year. Why? I don't know, but they are. So let's get into it. Home organization number 1, meal prep, fitness and movement, budgeting, planners and templates, self-care, and productivity, right? It's the same user flow every single time. So this is what pinners do. They search, they save, they click, they compare, and then they take action. And for whatever reason, that seems to be exactly how they do it all the time, like every year. So now the question sort of becomes, what should you create to match that behavior? The search, the save, the click, the compare, and the take action. What do we create? So I've thought about this. Now, I'm looking at it from a Q1 standpoint. Q1 Pinterest growth strategy. It's new and it's a little more inspiring, okay, than what I posted in episode 19. If you haven't listened to episode 19, please do so, because I do reference it a little bit here. Now, think of Q1 not as a content sprint. Okay, you're not sprinting to a finish line here, but look at it as an opportunity or a moment to reposition your content. Okay. Pinterest users are most definitely reevaluating everything. Like, I won't even just say Pinterest pinners, like users. I would say most people, whatever platform you're on, are reevaluating. They reevaluate routines, their habits, their spaces, energy, and definitely their systems. So instead of pushing content that's kind of random or maybe is just kind of what you've been doing for maybe, I don't know, the last few months, this kind of strategy will focus on more of the alignment. It will provide some clarity and it will definitely encourage long-term growth. Okay. Now I'm going to break it down for you by steps. Step number 1, choose your transformation theme. Pretty straightforward, right? Q1 is transformation season. It's a new year. New Year's resolutions. Hello. Pick one transformation that your ideal audience really wants. Think of things like people want to go from being overwhelmed to being organized. They want to go from being tired to energized, from inconsistent to really structured, or from cluttered to simplified. And that's where your content becomes the bridge. So if they're feeling like they want to change that cluttering in their life, your content is the bridge to becoming simplified, for example. Okay. Step 2, you want to create content that's helpful, not hype, right? You want to create helpful content. Pinterest is not Instagram. I'm going to just say that. It's not Instagram. Your audience isn't looking for entertainment. When I go on Pinterest, honestly, and I scroll, because I do scroll, because I'm interested in what people are posting, I'm not looking to be entertained. I want ideas, inspiration, fresh food for thought, right? And most people are looking to feel more capable, more empowered. That's where your content comes in. Your content should say things like when you're creating pins, you can do this. Here's how it works. This makes life easier. And you need to ask yourself when you're creating content, how can I make their January feel a little bit lighter, right? That's the direction you want your content to go in. All right. Step 3, use a Q1 keyword framework. Now, this is a new for January, February, and it's a formula. And you for those of you who listened to episode 19, you know that I put a formula in there last episode. This is a new formula. So you're going to use a New Year's desire, whatever that desire might be from your audience or other people who follow you. And that's going to be plus your niche and plus an achievable outcome. So it might look something like beginner meal prep ideas for busy weeks, small space home refresh ideas, or maybe 10-minute morning routines for beginners. Okay. This kind of content helps to align with January motivation and then a February follow through, right? Most people plan in January and they prepare and then they follow through in February. Okay. Now, step 4, you want to build anchor content. Now, these are sort of your 3 essentials that you want to keep, okay, when you're creating content. Now, in episode 19, I mentioned to do 5 to 7 pins about one particular thing, one product, one service, right? Which is what we did in December. Q1 works better with 3 anchor ideas. So, for example, a system, a routine, a tool. So if you were a digital creator, I'm going to give you an example. If you're a digital creator, your system would be a budget method. Your routine might be weekly planning process, and your tool might be a printable or even a template that you create. Now, if you're a fitness coach, your system would be something like a simple workout schedule, and a routine might be a 10-minute morning flow. Your tool might be the beginner workout guide. Okay. Anchor content keeps you focused and keeps it aligned. Okay. Step 5, well, you're going to future proof your content with an evergreen sort of content bucket that you're going to dump all your evergreen content into. You're going to choose one evergreen bucket to support and promote long-term growth, long-term traffic, right? So, for example, if you're in the food niche, recipe niche, easy recipes, maybe organizing hacks, simple workouts, maybe wellness routines or small business templates. You want to keep your content, your evergreen content, simple, doable, and consistent. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Now, let me break down exactly what to create, because I know this is what a lot of people are here for, with niche specific examples. And it took me a little while to do this because I have to go into Pinterest and actually look and search and, then compare and right. So I've put together, I feel like a really solid niche example. So let's do this. Products. Think handmade products, boutique products, physical goods. People or pinners want organizing tools, maybe lifestyle upgrades. They're looking for self-care. You might want to create something like small products that make your life easier in 2026. An example for a pin might be something like the top 5 small business products for a fresh start at home. Okay. If you do digital products, think printables, templates, and downloads. Pinners are looking for planners and checklists, budgeting tools, templates. You might want to create something like a January Jumpstart printable, and your pin might say something like instant download, New Year budget tracker for 2026. Okay. If you're in services, coaching, consulting, design, that's where I am, and as well as fitness. Pinners are looking for more clarity, accountability, maybe even some support on things that they're doing. So you might want to create a way to speak to them and go face to face with them. Think about a Q1 reset or a clarity session, right? And the kind of pin you might want to create might be something like start the new year organized, book your January reset session now. Okay. If you're in fitness and wellness, or a CPT, as I am, pinners are looking for simple routines. It's always about simplicity in fitness, achievable goals, right? So you might want to create something like a 10-minute routine or beginner flows. A pin might look like that you create might look like something like no equipment, 10-minute morning workout. If you're in the food niche, so think nutrition and meal prep, pinners are looking for easy, quick meals. Remember simplicity, fast, healthy-ish kind of habits, right? but still tasting good. So you might want to create something like easy meal prep for busy weeks. A pin might look something like 3 fast meal prep ideas for the new year or for 2026. Okay. Um, in the home decor and interiors niche, pinners are looking for clean, organized, refreshed spaces, right? They want to do things with their spaces. You might think create something like small space reset in 2026. A pin that you create might say something like minimalist home refresh ideas for January or for 2026, something like that. In lifestyle and self-care, pinners are looking for structure. They're looking for calm routines and like self-care routines, maybe morning or before bed, right? You might want to create something like simple evening or morning routines, right? And a pin that you create might look something like calm evening routine for 2026. Okay. Business and productivity. This is the last one. Pinners are looking for some focus, some clarity, even organization when it comes to their businesses and work. Think about making something like weekly business setup systems. A pin might look something like small business weekly planner template for 2026, right? This is the kind of content that you want to create. Now, on to the PBC question of the week. This is from a PBC member in the side of the Pinterest business community, and they ask, what if I didn't post at all in December? Did I ruin my Pinterest traffic for January and February? No, you didn't ruin a thing. That's the short answer. Remember that Pinterest doesn't punish people for taking breaks. It just needs, fresh signals again once you're ready to come back, or if you started pinning now. You want to start today, start simple, and start with a Q1 transformation theme, as I discussed earlier. Okay. Now, for the pin and plan tip of the week, I love this part. Pick one January problem that your audience, your specific audience has, and build your next 5 pins around solving it. Now, I know I often say 1 to 5. I would say the next 5 so that you have some content to push out over the coming days. Pinterest users don't want noise, right? Remember, they always want clarity, right? They're not there to be entertained. Pinterest is not Instagram. Okay, now that said, that's a wrap on episode 20, what to create now to get massive January and February Pinterest traffic. For your reminder, Pinterest in Q1 is about alignment, not about hustle. Okay? Create content that solves real problems, and I guarantee that your traffic will follow. When I post anything that really is helpful to people, I see a huge uptick. Huge. Okay? And if you need help choosing your theme or your keywords, I'm always inside the Pinterest business community. You can find me at Body, Mind, Mood. And remember, there are other Pinterest pioneers there as well, moderators and community managers who will always love to jump in and help, I'm sure. Now, for next week's episode, and actually before I even get into that, I will post some of the info. I will paste it inside of this Shopify notes. I will also be creating a post for the PBC where you're welcome to go and read it and get more detail and more information. But next week, let's do this. Pinterest relevance reset. Yep, I said reset. How to become the best answer in your niche. How to be the go-to person. This one will completely change how you approach keywords and how you approach search. Until then, pin with purpose, plan with confidence, and stay consistent through January. If you're not going to be joining me, of course, in the next couple of weeks, your future traffic will thank you. Bye for now.